in 1985.
85?
That's correct, sir.
16 years ago.
Yes, sir. We've been doing this from the get-go. We've been shooting planes left and right like flies. This is the United States government. Okay?
And we've killed a lot of people, haven't we?
Absolutely, sir. And bottom line is we don't even know those planes have. I mean, who's going to go into Virgin, double, triple canopy and try to figure out there were drugs in that plane? This is what the U.S. government has done all these years and gotten away with it.
So a lot of people who have died have been utterly innocent and not involved, in all likelihood, with the drug business.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, but I think that on this issue that just happened last couple of weeks was the fact that the war in Colombia is going to escalate, and the Special Forces unit in Iquitos is going to be standing by on the border, waiting for the Colombians to cross, and they will be slaughtered. And that's the way they do business, and they don't want anybody around. And in my professional opinion, I feel that this was a warning to all Americans to get out of the area. We shoot planes leaving Peru into Colombia, not coming into Peru. So explain that,
Yeah. All right, the missionary plane that was shot down resulted in the deaths of 2 Americans, a woman and her little baby. The pilot was wounded, her husband and another man were not. You were down there, Sully. How many planes did you see splashed?
Well, you could see them all over the place, close by the water. As a matter of fact, there's going to be pictures going up on the website on Drug Wars where you see a cocaine lab airstrip where there's 5 planes ready to take off, and one is an American plane with an American tail number. So there were hundreds of planes, and drugs were being smuggled left and right from Peru into Colombia.
What kind of aircraft are these?
Well, the Cessnas, small planes, jumpers that would go from Peru into Colombia. They weren't going very far, and the reason why was because they were taking the cocaine paste into Colombia to make it into hydrochloride.
For processing, yeah.
Exactly. So, small planes, small loads at a time. There was no flight plans, nothing. We worked out of Leticia, Colombia, and Tapatinga, and that's what we did. And there was never any flight plans coming or going.
What were you flying in? What kind of aircraft were you up in?
We were flying in also Cessnas, and we were also flying on government planes. They came in then like Islanders and so forth. We would travel, and that's what we did. And
were you actually involved in the shooting?
Well, I was in the plane with the Colombians. I mean, with the Peruvians. And they were shooting down planes, and all the photos were coming in from the CIA. Our satellite photos were coming in from the CIA.
So who was vectoring your aircraft when you were down there? Who was directing it?
The United States government, the U.S. Embassy, at that time period. Yes.
I see. How'd you feel about watching these planes shot down?
Well,
and people dying?
Again, at that time period, I felt that
you were doing the right thing.
Exactly, and I felt that to me, when I questioned it, they said, "Hey, wait a minute, this is business as usual in Central America and South America. This is what happens in these third world countries." And they tried to give me an explanation that, hey, there's just casualties of the war. And
casualties of the war.
Exactly.
People down there who are in the business have been killing people. Governments have been killing people, and vice versa. People have been dying for 15, 20 years down there, and the flow of drugs does not seem to have been impacted at all, has it?
Absolutely not. You can remember when Nixon started the war on drugs in 1970, there were approximately $100 million allocated to the war on drugs, and now in the year 2000, we had over billions of dollars, and we haven't even made a dent. We got more drugs today than we ever had in the past 20 or 30 years. So how do you explain that? We just can't. And the floodgates are open, and we got more drugs today and more potent and so forth.
Are we to a point where we've got to come to some realization that it's just not going to happen? When are the American people going to demand that something different be tried? There's got to be a better way to deal with all this.
Well, what it is now, you remember a couple of years ago, it was an uncle or a cousin who was involved in drugs or using or selling. And now it's 1 out of 4 in the immediate family who's either using or selling drugs.
Where?
In the immediate family here in the U.S.
1 out of 4 people,
yes, that's
on the average, in the immediate family,
uses drugs or sells drugs.
And that's everything from MDMA to crack.
Exactly, because they don't, drugs don't discriminate. And bottom line is this: it's when they're building more prisons.
Yeah, well, we got 1/4
going to jail
of
now, and so forth. So it's destroying the families. Because
what families? We got 1/4 of the world's prison population here, which is turning into a pretty slick slave labor operation for a lot of corporations, of course.
Exactly. So it's just terrible.
1 out of 4 people using drugs now.
Yes, sir. 1 out of 4 in the immediate family.
Amazing.
It's amazing, yeah, because we turn around. As I teach in school, just about every single student that I know has experimented with drugs.
It's higher than the statistics will
tell
you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the peer pressure is there for them to use it and so forth.
And let's be honest, folks, it's not just peer pressure, it's the media right from the get-go. It's that music they call music. It's the messages in the music which tell people it's okay. And I don't know, Sully, I don't see any historic president in my study of ancient histories, modern, Middle Age. There's no way to turn this around. I don't know what we're going to do, but it's going to require almost, I think, disassembling it and rebuilding the whole thing. Well, it's so corrupt.
I feel that it's going to get worse before it gets better, if it gets better.
Yeah, well said.
Because it's snowballing, and I think it's going to be very, very hard to stop it now.
What is this China White thing we hear all the time now? It seems that cocaine is still around, but heroin is making a pretty big comeback.
Exactly. China White, I used to work China White down when I was in San Francisco. And that was at the time period, I'm talking about 1992 and so forth, and people, the U.S. government was saying, there's no such thing as China White. And I was buying China White left and right in an undercover capacity. So it's very powerful, very strong, and, it's coming from China and so forth. So, I mean, the drug was there. That's what I mean, that we have more drugs today, going back from acid to, black tar, China White, you name it, it's all back.
What really amazes me, John Carmen has been on the program. You know John?
Yes.
Former customs agent.
Right, John Carmen, yes.
Amazing story. It's in the archives, folks. If you want to hear something, it'll just turn your head another 360. He told me that the trucks now coming across the Mexican border, the containers coming through the harbors and ports in this country, are being checked to the tune of maybe 1 or 2 out of 100 containers, maybe 3 or 4 out of 100 trucks. And the drug lords know this, and so they'll run 10, 20 trucks through at a time, knowing that maybe 1 or 2 might get checked. And the other 19 or 20 are going to go through.
Exactly. You take a loss, and you're going to take a loss. But in the meantime, you bring in 10, and 2 go get taken down. So it's no big loss.
We know certainly the communist Chinese are right now assaulting America on numerous fronts, not just the computer cyber war that they're talking about. They're bringing stuff in here, folks, everything from China White to AK-47s in these containers, whether they come via Costco or other, it doesn't matter. They're coming through the ports of entry here. And I don't see any way, Sully, to stop it. You got people working at the ports. Everybody's got a price, like you said. They got mortgages. If they want to stay out of trouble, they look the other way on X shipment of cargo containers. And it's a joke. It's a joke. After listening to John Carmen, after listening to you, Mike Rupert, and other people, I don't see how it's possible to remedy the situation. I think it's not fixable.
Well,
given the current paradigm and the way we're doing business.
The only thing I feel that might help us is the so-called war on drugs in Colombia. When we started seeing our cousins and brothers and sisters getting killed over there for this phony drug war,
Vietnam,
people are going to uprise. And in bottom line, I think that the real battles will be at the university level campuses.
Same thing as
what happened in Kent State, UCLA, Berkeley.
That's what
people will demonstrate, and they're going to have this big demonstration, and a lot of people are going to get killed, both domestic and foreign.
Yeah, you know what I think? Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I think we're not going to win this war until and unless those 1 out of 4 people in the extended families stop doing drugs. I think that the demand is the only way we're going to kill it. We've got to somehow shut down the demand.
Yeah, the demand. It's just like there was a big survey by Fox News the other day. Who is to blame, Central America or South America, for the drugs coming in, or the United States? 96% said the United States was to blame because of the demand.
Really?
Absolutely. I have that on tape.
Oh, amazing. Americans are not asleep as we think they are sometimes.
No, they're not asleep, but, you know, the big demand is there.
Well, as long as the demand's there, folks, there's no way to win the war on drugs. Is that fair, Sully?
Basically, yes.
Yeah, all right. Colombia. Let's tell people what the difference between Colombia and Peru is in terms of the whole drug business.
Well, in Peru, for example, was the biggest exporter on what was known as cocaine paste.
Right.
And then it goes to the labs in Colombia where it's made into hydrochloride.